Okay, buenos dias. Good morning, everybody. Nice to meet you again. So my fourth lecture is about learning science and engineering through making an invention. So the first lecture was quite the basic issues what we are having in teacher education, those learning and pedagogical approaches and discovery learning, process approach, that kind of things. And the second presentation was about project-based learning. That is very important now in Finland. It's very much following the curriculum ideas, and we are introducing it to all levels of science education. And then we become familiar with learning through reading and writing. So you are aiming to find solutions to STEM or STEAM education. So that was an idea about art, how you can include art issues, or one approach how to include art issues to STEM education. And this last presentation is more focusing to the engineering and that kind of things. And the data and ideas are mainly used now in primary and lower secondary, not in upper secondary yet, but primary and lower secondary level. And I will first take a look for the reasons why we have oriented to the engineering side now in Finland. So it's about education policy discourse behind that. And then I give information about some basic concepts, creative thinking, critical thinking, and computational thinking. They are important in engineering, as well as in science. And then I introduce the process of invention process or creative process. There are many names used. And then some research outcomes. So we are very actively now making research about invention and invention pedagogy and creative processes in science and STEM classrooms. Maybe this is quite close to the phenomenal learning Mario introduced you, and so how we have interpreted the phenomenal learning in teacher education. And then final discussions. So there will be about some 2 small group activities, and we can have coffee during that.
Yeah.
So I start with the policy, and Finland is a member of the OECD, and from the OECD, which is looking at the economic growth for member states, a lot of recommendations are coming to the member states. OECD is also organizing those PISA investigations and also the PIAT, which is an adult-style PISA, what the adults are able to do, and also the TALIS, which is looking what teachers are thinking and what they are doing. So they are making many monitoring in OECD countries, but also other countries which are not member states. And according to the recommendation after the PIAC 2018 was published, they emphasized that 14% of the current job doesn't exist in very near future. So it was 18, so they are not anymore existing. And 30% of the job face sustainable change. Not only the digital tools, but many other changes are happening. In Oxford University, they have a unit which is making research about future competencies, and they say that next 25 years, half of the jobs doesn't exist anymore. And new kind of jobs and occupations are coming, and we do not even know what are they. So there will be dramatical change by the researchers' point of view and OECD point of view. And we as a small member state, we are quite often carefully looking what's coming on the OECD. On the other hand, we should be careful when we are listening OECD. It is very economically oriented organization, and maybe they forgot the human being sometimes, and you should be carefully listening and looking for them. But very similar is coming from the UNESCO, so it's all over the world, that kind of discussion. So some pictures that we have a greenhouses in Finland and everything is now organized by computers. No humans are needed for taking care of the plants. In our supermarkets there are no persons who are taking the money. There are this kind of machines and automation, artificial intelligence is making shopping and bank services are made during the coffee breaks and even the newspapers are publishing the news based on the artificial intelligence. So no journalists are needed in simple issues. So a lot of things have already happened and will happen. And there are many reports and descriptions what are needed in future. I mentioned UNESCO and OECD, but also European Union is very much looking what's happening in member states and giving recommendations how to make progress in education sector also. So the UNESCO is maybe more looking for good life for people. OECD, okay, the economic growth, and the European Union, the employment, so the employability of the people. Inside the European Union there is recommendation that less than 10% of the young people, no, it's not how to pronounce. So statistics tell us that there are in many member states almost 30–40% of the young people are dropping out of the society. We discussed with Juan Carlos about what's happening in Argentina after the COVID time. So people are not coming back to the education, they are not coming to the labor market, they are dropping out of the system. In Finland, this dropout is less than 10%. It is very high in my opinion, but that is less than European Union recommendation. So that kind of heavy discussion was made in Finland and it was discussed that what are the competencies needed, okay, what are the challenges first, what are the competencies, and how to organize education at school in order to support young people to achieve those competencies what we need. And then also teachers, what kind of teacher education we should have in order to have teachers who are able to support young people to learn the competencies. And I take one example from the OECD, how they describe the competencies now. Earlier they were mainly focusing to the cognitive skills and working skills and working with tools, digital tools and other tools. But now they have had also these socio-emotional skills to the model. This is the latest model from the OECD, how to describe the competencies human beings need in order to have a good life and in order to have a good work and that kind of things. So they introduce in the Learning Compass, that's the name of the OECD competence description, the Learning Compass, that there are 3 areas of competencies human beings need. The basic competencies, cognitive and metacognitive skills and socio-emotional skills. The basic competencies means that know what and know how, so you have to have a deep understanding of the basic concepts and principles and core ideas, and also you have to be able to acquire new knowledge through inquiry, problem solving, and through designing solutions. And then these critical and creative thinking skills, computational thinking, learning to learn and self-regulation skills, they are the red skills, and then the social, emotional, empathy, self-efficacy, responsibility and collaboration skills. OECD says that these skills, competencies, they are separate, but when you are engaging an activity, you need all them. So they are employed at the same time somehow. On the other hand, separate, but you are needing them all. And now in this presentation I am having today, I will focus to these creative and critical thinking skills and computational thinking skills. And of course, there's also the socio-emotional skills. What I'm now talking, it's not so research-based, it is more policy-driven. But the OECD Learning Compass documents, there are a lot of references to the research. But anyway, when I am reading them, I'm very carefully thinking that what is kind of policy discourse and what is real research outcome. And there is a lot of nice pictures and nice summaries. And for example, this is one I like in the Learning Compass, how these creative thinking skills and critical thinking skills both are needed in inquiry, project-based learning, and both are needed in designing solutions. So in inquiry, when you are designing the study or making connections to the concepts or ideas, what's coming out and making connections to the previous knowledge, then you need creative thinking skills. And when you are identifying questions and connecting claim and evidence, then you have to be critical. So both types of skills are needed in inquiry. And it's also in the design or invention. While you are generating and playing with unusual and radical ideas related to the challenge, then you need creative thinking skills. And when you are taking into account several views related to the problem, looking for background information, evaluation of ideas, then you need critical thinking skills. So both are needed in the process. But somehow we have recognized that in this designing and invention, it's important to teacher knows that when it is time for creative thinking and when it is time for critical thinking. If you are very critical when you are generating ideas, it's not working. So you have to have an open mindset when you are generating ideas. So that was a kind of policy discourse, why we are doing this. And because the curriculum is a political document, it's kind of governmental wish to the school education, and those ideas were implemented to our curriculum. So we have to emphasize those creative critical thinking skills and design competencies. This is now more research-based part. So of course there is a lot of research about creative thinking, and Steenberg is one of well-known person in the creative thinking, and the problem is that there are so many definitions. So I have only one definition for creative thinking here, and it's quite widely accepted. So basically the idea is that you see that there has been some creative thinking. You can see that the outcome is somehow novel. It is somehow novel, and it is also somehow usable for the purposes it has been created. So that is definition based on the outcome. And moreover, it's not so. In science, it is all over the world similar, but this kind of design, there are always very much cultural and historical and other type of context influencing the creative process and especially how we value the outcome. And another example that creativity is seen as a capacity to imagine, conceive, express, make something that was not there before. So there is a long history in this field of research, but what is quite amazing that there is actually not so much research in school context. How we as teachers on teacher education, how teachers at school can support students to learn creative thinking skills and this creative process. There is lack of that kind of research, and this is one reason why we are doing that very actively now. This reference is from 2021, and this Kermin and Sapel, they emphasize that there is lack of research, especially in upper secondary level. In this presentation, I use this kind of small pictures, and we are using them in our teacher education and in school classrooms, in the wall, and also while students are doing something, we can ask that, what is your face in creative process? For example, generating ideas is like that kind of slow of picture, and they go, okay, I'm doing that. So we are willing that students are also recognizing what they are doing, while they are generating ideas and designing solutions. Critical thinking is the analysis of available facts, evidence, observations, and arguments to form a judgment. So Edward Glaser's definition. And examples of critical thinking: you are clarifying your thinking purposes, you are investigating sources of information or resources, you are identifying arguments, you are analyzing resources, evaluating arguments or ideas, and create syntheses. They are examples of critical thinking. There are different situations where we are having critical thinking. And in the creative process, while we are becoming familiar with the background information related to the challenge, then we need to investigate the sources of information and resources and analyze the resources. So that is the symbol for critical thinking and looking for background. And when we are evaluating ideas, then we are having those creative outcomes, and we are somehow evaluating them, what is good and what is missing, and that is a symbol for evaluating our ideas. So creative thinking, critical thinking, and computational thinking. How many of you have been making research or focusing to the computational thinking in your teaching? How familiar you are with that? So what is computational thinking? This Sute is one well-known researcher in the field of computational thinking, and he recognized 8 types of thinking in the field of computational thinking. And we have now a Nordic project with Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, and we are very much focusing the role of computational thinking in science education. I'm not talking about that because that is only in the beginning, that project, but it will be a big project, and we have done a lot of literature review, what is already known about computational thinking in science education. So this kind of decomposition is one type of computational thinking. You have a challenge, a big challenge, you are splitting it down to the sub-challenges. Like in computer science, it is very common that you have a program and you have a sub-programs, and then together they are working well. You have to make a decomposition, splitting down the big problem to the smaller ones. And patterns, so you are looking for patterns, how something is behaving. So you recognize that there is a certain type of rule behind how the colors are changing. So identifying patterns, that is second style of computational thinking. And the third one is abstraction. So you have a complex phenomena, you have a complex challenge, you have to make it a little bit more abstract in order to perceive it, simplifying an object or procedure. And then the fourth one is algorithm. It's in computer science, again, very important. You are making an algorithm and the computer is following the algorithm. But it's also in for example, when you are analyzing the chemical spectrums, you are looking that there is this kind of curve and this kind of curve. You have in your mind that you are first looking this and second that, and if there is that, you can think that, okay, there is a kind of certain type of chemical compound in the sample, and that's happening also in science a lot. You have the procedure you are following. And then the fifth one is parallelism. You are carrying out certain number of steps at the same time. And the sixth one is efficiency. You are always looking at how to make most efficient something. That is the computational thinking number 7. And then automation. You automate the processes and procedures. And finally, it is the debugging. You evaluate how well something is working. So these are the 8 computational thinking, and in the design process, in creative process, you actually have quite many of them, and we are now very interested about how they exist in science-oriented invention processes. So that was about critical thinking, creative thinking, and computational thinking. And now I give some examples. For example, making a breakfast, you can analyze it through the decomposition. So this is the ready breakfast, and then you split it down to make a toast and make a tea, and toast means that you have to make a slice and toast bread and take a butter and jam, and here you boil water and put tea and maybe milk. So you are having the breakfast as a big idea, and you are splitting it down to the kind of small pieces. Or a metro map, it's very complex under the ground, but you are making an abstraction of the metro map. And the algorithm, when you are making a cake, you are putting the oven, and then you are taking the whatever you are taking and putting them together and wait a little bit, and that's what you have an algorithm when you are making a cake. So actually this computational thinking are everywhere we are doing something, but in an invention process it's very important to recognize what is the thinking behind doing. Now I have gone through the most basic issues, and now we come to the creative invention process in science classroom. And I start with an example. Sorry, I don't start with, I have some background first. So I try to make it clear what means an invention and what is an invention process. So there are two guys, and it happens several thousands years ago. So inventions have been needed always. And the man on the left-hand side asking, where you have been? I have been generating alternatives. Alternatives? I do not have time for that. A lot of work to be done. So this is something that we are willing to teach our kids, that we should always ask that can we make things better, than can we find some innovations how to overcome the challenges. So that is the one message in the invention pedagogy. And actually, when I am looking Finland now a little bit outside, and what is the secret in Finnish education, actually I think that's an attitude. When we are making the curriculum every 10 years, we are always asking that where are the challenges, what are the challenges we have to overcome. There's a lot of that kind of discussion. And then when we find the challenge and maybe the road how to go, then we make the change in the curriculum. So that's something very deep in my understanding in Finnish mindset, Finnish people. So we should always ask, could we make this in a different way, better way? So I am talking about inventions and innovation. So the invention is the gear, and when you put to the carriage, then it's an innovation. So in Lego robotics, we are using those Arduino kits, and it's an invention, and when the students are making the robots and that kind of things, they are innovations. They are putting things together. That's an innovation. So an innovation is something that is new, or you meet it first time. This is a definition in the school context. So in school, it's not so important that we are making so brand new things, but the process is most important in school. The students are actively participating in the innovation process and doing something that they have not earlier met. And in a creative or innovation process, it's common that you are combining things. you are putting the wheel to the carriage, and then it's an innovation. And then you come to something that you didn't know earlier. When you open your eyes, you can see innovations around you, and you can easily see that, okay, that's quite clear. They have put things together, and then something novel comes out, an innovation. I think I have some pictures here. Yes. I was in China and recognized that the carousel, everybody knows the carousel from the childhood, and then it's a brush. But putting the carousel and brush together, you get a cleaning machine. So that's an innovation. Putting things together in a novel way, then we are coming to the innovation. Or cutting the grass is an innovation. In the breakfast, I was today thinking that why the fruit salads look so ugly, why they are like this. So putting things in a different way to get better feeling. So innovations are all over around us. So we have to just recognize them. And when you recognize it, then it's easy to think that, okay, this and this have been put together and that is a new thing. But when you are making it, or you are guiding your students to make it, it's really challenging. So sorry. Yes.
So, I have a question or a comment.
Oh, please.
It's clear that the innovation, as you are presenting, is always the result or the product of collaborative work. Okay. So the question that I have already asked to you, how it is solved, because traditionally creating new knowledge was a question of individuals, and the owners of the product of the new knowledge was whatever copyrights or whatever, just for one person or a group of persons, but based in individuality. No? So how is in this case, where collaboration is the basis for innovation, who is the owner of the product?
I think this is a very relevant question, and we have in school a handicraft subject, or you can have a visual art subject, and there is a very strong tradition that young people are making something alone and taking it to home. And then we come to this innovation education, innovation pedagogy. We are pushing students to work in a group. And okay, the outcome is not, you are not able to take it to home. It's not your property. So it is that type of problem we are having. We have to change our mindset that earlier it was important that you take things to home and show your parents, and now maybe you can make a digital portfolio, you can make a video clips what you have created, you can show the video clips to the others. So that's a common output of the common process. So we are combining typically a digital portfolio work with this kind of innovation processes. Students are documenting the processes, and they slowly learn that the process is very important, and important to learn the process, not the simple outcome. And in earlier times it was very common that everybody was making exactly the same type of product. So old-fashioned industrial thinking that you are making the bulk products with your hands. So we have to go out of that. Okay, of course we can think about the copyright issues, but if you put the outcome to the school building visible and that kind of thing, so we have to start thinking a new way.
Yeah.
That's my answer. But this is a question we have been discussing a lot. Especially the visual art and handicraft teachers are struggling with this idea. That it's not coming something individual out you can take home.
Yo creo que es muy importante esta cuestión de mirarla, porque implica un cambio cultural muy fuerte en términos del resultado y del producto de una actividad que ha tomado cierto tiempo, cierto esfuerzo, y que de pronto se desaparece o se invisibiliza la participación individual en ese producto final. Y me trae a la mente una discusión muy fuerte que existe en relación a la producción del conocimiento indígena y de las prácticas de conocimientos de los pueblos originarios, un conocimiento totalmente dejado de lado, desconocido desde la academia, y que uno de los problemas es que el conocimiento indígena no reconoce, es un conocimiento distribuido, es que conocido como distributed learning, es un conocimiento que se encuentra en la comunidad y que enfrenta una gran dificultad de cómo dialogar con la tradición y la historia del conocimiento, de cómo el nuevo conocimiento es tratado en Occidente. Con esto de la innovación yo creo que hay que pensarlo mucho, reflexionarlo mucho de qué manera esto puede afectar o no el incentivo hacia desarrollar las necesidades de aprendizaje que ayer trabajabas ayer por la tarde trabajabas. Si esto estuviera afectando o no, produciendo un incentivo negativo, si se quiere, en términos de esta cultura histórica, de que algo, el esfuerzo debe ser reflejado en algo que nos pertenece, que nos es propio, y que al mismo tiempo lo pongo en relación con el sistema de evaluación que utilizamos. Las evaluaciones son de carácter individual, ¿no? Se evalúa el conocimiento individual de los estudiantes, y sin embargo, cuando uno los lleva hacia una línea de producción colectiva, colaborativa, y este producto individual no está, digo, estas son cuestiones que me parece que hay que pensarlas mucho, por ejemplo, ¿no? En términos de cómo evaluamos luego.
Thank you, Juan Carlos, for this input and contribution. This indigenous knowledge, that's very, very interesting you raised that. And I have been collaborating with South African teacher educators in Soweto, which is a southwest township in the Johannesburg city. And they are very interested about Lego robotics and how to introduce the Lego robots and computational thinking to the classroom. They are very willing to be active in the fourth industrial revolution. That's a national aim of the South Africa. And they are very much following the Western thinking, but I said that in Africa you have a very rich indigenous knowledge and this kind of tradition you were introducing to us. So why you are not taking as a starting point those traditions? And I will show you one example how we guide students in Finland to this innovation process. And now actually they have some PhD students who are active in this field, and now they are aiming to find links with the indigenous knowledge and Lego robotics. And for example, why not to make a Lego robot dancing kind of exhibition according to the indigenous dancing habits and constructing something, and you can apply those, putting things together, taking ideas and putting things together, and then it's possible to come to something new. But this is an idea that is elaborated, and it's very interesting that you raise the same topic and what have been discussed in African context. So it looks that this kind of outcomes of the creative process, they are very simple, but in real life it's very challenging for me, you, I'm sure, and students in the classroom to create something new. So how to support them to be more creative? And it's very common, we say that how to go out of the box, how to go out of the traditional thinking situations. And I'm not specialist in psychology related to the creative processes, but just some simplifying ideas I can introduce, not in deep. So here is the human who is in his box. And outside him there is a challenge he's aiming to overcome. And there is some kind of control in our mind. We are controlling our behavior, we are controlling our mind, we are using those traditional things easily. We are not going out of the box. And the question is that how to probe, how to recognize the challenge, how to make holes to our control in order to recognize it, what is the challenge, and in order to combine ideas we have in our mind and put things together and then solve the challenge. And the problem is that type of, the psychologists call it control. We are controlling, we are not so open-minded. And the first stage is that we have challenges to recognize the challenge we are aiming to solve. Or we have challenges to think what should be the outcome. And then we have challenges to combine those previous ideas, putting them in a nice way together, and then solve the problem. So how to make this control low, or how to make holes to the control, that is the question. And the psychologists recommend that different kind of analogic thinking is helping us. So if we are, for example, in a very simple way thinking that how I solve the problem if I am the inventor or the artist or the lion or the magic man. So that helps us to make the control lower. This kind of personal analogy. Also storytelling activities, looking for video clips, different kind of this kind of little bit crazy issues are helping us to make holes to the control. And of course there are also different kind of techniques that are supportive us to make inventions. I will give some examples. We will have a break quite soon, and I will give you a kind of thinking exercise for the break. So what are the skills we need when we are creative and when we are engaging in invention process? That is my question. I help you a little bit. The examples are coming from the adult life. We are brainstorming here. There are no dumb ideas. In this picture, there is a lot of things, a lot of skills, attitudes that are needed when we are willing to be creative and engage in invention process. Another picture. I'm so happy to have almost 100 ideas. Now it's time for evaluating them. So I hope that these two pictures guide you in your discussion during the break. Juan Carlos, I hope there is coffee available.
Sorry. Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, there will be, you can say when, because...
No, because this is the activity we have to have.
Yes, right. It could be perfectly right.
So we will have a 15 minutes break and we will continue 5 to 10. And when you come back, you have to give me at least 3 skills. What are the 3 most important skills if we are willing that our students are creative in a classroom? They are able to make inventions, putting things together in a clever way, novel way. So that is the exercise. Is this clear? Good. So when we come back after 15 minutes, then you tell me 3 most important. So let's have a break. What kind of skills you listed? What were coming out from in your discussion? So what is important in creative process? Who is willing to share? Three most important. You have to use
Ok. Bueno, nosotros lo que pensamos en principio es que estas habilidades tienen mucho que ver con las cuestiones emocionales, también con las características de personalidad, inclusive. Entonces, bueno, tengo que elegir las tres más importantes. Con respecto a estas cuestiones emocionales, habría que, en principio, no tener vergüenza ni miedo de expresar ideas, perder un poco el miedo al ridículo, el miedo a equivocarse, porque de repente se necesitan muchas ideas y después, como dice el dibujito, ¿no? Después aprender a evaluarlas. Otra cosa importante que dijo una de nuestras compañeras es que parecería importante en este proceso desterrar el principio de autoridad, porque todos deberían tener, a la hora de exponer sus ideas, todas las ideas el mismo valor. No importa que sea, se ponía un ejemplo de la universidad, ¿no? No importaba si la persona que tenía que dar ideas fuese un becario o fuese el investigador de más alto rango, ¿no? De la universidad. De repente el becario podía tener unas ideas que podían ser muy valiosas. Bueno, y desterrar el ego como también característica de personalidad, ¿no? Porque a veces el ego puede bloquear la participación de uno y la de los demás también, ¿no? La guerra de egos en un proceso creativo puede complicarse.
So very good, thank you. So who's willing to add something? Now we have more than three already, but they are only focusing to the individual skills and group-working skills and this kind of equality in generating ideas. But who is willing to add something else? What's coming to your mind? Just sharing, yeah. Outcome of the discussion, please. You have to use this because they can translate.
Ya. Ya, hay que usar este para que puedan traducir. Ya.
Please.
Bueno, gracias. Sí, bueno, en principio aparecieron varias dudas en función de lo que estábamos charlando. Y bueno, recién hablábamos con Juan Carlos. Le comentaba, les estaba comentando, que desde hace muchos años coordina una tecnicatura superior en gestión ambiental. Y empezamos a trabajar con los estudiantes a partir de problemáticas concretas, casi como si fuese un proyecto, pero en la educación ambiental. Y bueno, se han logrado trabajos realmente importantes, muchos trabajos han sido financiados, hubo trabajos que fueron financiados por Fundación Argentina de Recursos Naturales, hubo otros que terminaron en publicaciones. Ahora cuesta muchísimo trabajar mediante proyectos. Y creo, en principio, me parece que tiene que ver con el modo en el que trabajamos tradicionalmente o habitualmente. Y le comentaba recién a Juan Carlos que nosotros culturalmente estamos acostumbrados a si funciona no lo toques, que siga funcionando igual. Y romper a veces con esa idea es terriblemente complicado. Lo que quería preguntar al profesor era cómo habían logrado cambiar justamente esa idea en Finlandia.
Okay. I guess that it is as challenging in Finland as here, but we have to go through those processes with teachers, and teachers have to apply in the classroom, and we should have evidence-based outcome from our research that is supporting and giving new guidelines for the. I will give an example of how we can do it in the classroom, but it is challenging. You are right, it's not easy at all. But who would like to add something to my question that what kind of skills are needed if we are willing that our students in the classroom are innovative. And please come here. So it's a very short bio.
Sorry.
Hola. ¿Qué tal? Pensábamos en dos habilidades, les cuento la que discutimos. Una de ellas es la flexibilidad mental para poder compartir ideas con otros. Era una. Y la segunda es la habilidad o capacidad para observar el mundo que me rodea, observar con detalle. Entonces, por ejemplo, si yo observo lo que tengo a mi alrededor, puedo observar así nomás, una mesa, una silla, un armario, o puedo observar una mesa, qué características tiene, cuáles son sus partes, qué pasaría si le saco la parte de arriba, etc. Que eso es una habilidad, no es lo mismo observar y ver más o menos lo que tengo a mi alrededor que observar de otra manera.
Thank you. Something to add? So you have mainly focused to the interpersonal, yeah, okay.
Se me ocurre que, en base a lo que voy escuchando, algo que podríamos sumar a una habilidad, no sé si llamar habilidad para un estudiante, es las ganas de saber, de descubrir, la curiosidad, de estar motivado. Sumaría eso para después poder trabajar con estas cuestiones. Tenemos que poder despertar la motivación y las ganas de descubrir en nuestros estudiantes.
Thank you for emphasizing this attitude side and willingness. And of course we can ask that how we can support our students to be more willing, to have more positive attitude. So we have recognized that if there are kind of safe environment for teacher to go to the classroom and start working with these kind of approaches, it's more easy and the teacher is then somehow enthusiastic and very engaged him or herself, because he feels him or herself safety and know how to go, what are the steps, and that is somehow teachers should be very sure how to do, how to go and how to guide students, and then this kind of attitude, it goes to the student level also. But this is an important topic you raise and other also. So, of course, there are not simple answers to this question. There is not one correct answer or list of competencies, but I think that you cover quite well. Maybe you focus very much to the interpersonal skills, kind of willingness and attitude and that kind of trust, but also the group level skills that we should not have the hierarchical levels between the people who are solving the problem or making solutions. So there must be equality among the group members and we should trust each others and we have a feeling that the ideas that are coming out from the process, they are common ideas. So maybe
Have a very lively
very loud, yeah.
Yeah, same. Very lively.
So of course, I was thinking myself this question, and I'm not telling you that this is the better answer. It's just my personal brainstorming. But I use this OECD framework so that you have to have these socio-emotional skills, and you were mainly focusing on those skills. So the positive attitude, empathy, confidence that we find ideas, no hierarchy, constructive attitude with communication. So not blaming each other, one for all for one attitude. But of course those brainstorming skills, creative and critical thinking skills, generating and evaluation of ideas, they are also important. And then those basic competencies, scientific and technological knowledge are needed in innovation processes and problem-solving skills. But this is helping us, this OECD framework, to somehow remember that all those are needed. And you emphasize a lot this socio-emotional side, and I agree that it's very important. But the others are also important, of course. Are you able to follow my talk even if it's a bit loud? Maybe. And I mentioned that for teacher it should be very safe environment even he or she goes to the classroom. And that's why we have outlined with our teachers kind of process to follow. And if you have a clear process to follow, then all those things are somehow included to the process. Also those socio-emotional issues are included. So I will introduce now the process we have developed for classroom use. It is not brand new, it is not unique. Very similar descriptions can be found. For example, design thinking is very close to this process. But this kind of invention process, it starts through the recognizing the challenge. And it's quite common that in the beginning the challenge or the problem is not clear. We have to accept that it is kind of a wholeness challenge. It's not so well defined. That is very characteristic for the innovative processes, that in the beginning it's not so clear what we are doing. Second, we are looking for background information. We are looking for what is known about the issue we are aiming to solve or find a solution. So what are those things we are later on putting together in a novel way? So this kind of investigative or inquiry process is needed as a part of the creative process. And then we come to the idea generation. We generate ideas. A lot of ideas. We are happy if we get many ideas. Then we have a lot of ideas. We are looking for them. We are grading them. We are putting ideas together, and we come to the most obvious and the best solution. In this idea generation phase, we don't accept critique, because the critique is disturbing the generating process. And actually, it is better that we have a crazy ideas and not so acceptable ideas. They could be kind of analogical models for the easily applied ideas. And here we are critical, we are evaluating the ideas and we are putting them together, but not at the same time. We are accepting the innovation, designing a prototype, testing the prototype. So this type of phases exist in this invention process in the classroom. And the teacher is familiar with the process, then he or she feels himself more safety when he goes to the classroom. And it is more easy for a teacher to support the students in the classroom. He knows the things and I can manage this and that kind of things. And I mentioned that design thinking is quite close. There are many this type of processes described in the literature. For example, design thinking, a non-linear iterative process for creating innovative solutions for ill-defined problems. So the problems are not so clear in the beginning. 5 phases: emphasize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So almost the same, but not exactly. And now I try to combine this where we need critical thinking and where we need creative thinking. So this is the process, starting from the recognizing of the challenge, making investigation in the field of the challenge, generating ideas, evaluating ideas, accepting the innovation, designing a prototype, and so on. So in the beginning, it's quite neutral, the challenge. It's coming somewhere, typically somehow teachers helping students to recognize, okay, we are now going to solve this. We are now finding a solution to this challenge. But this investigative part is the phase where we need critical thinking. And then the idea generation, of course, is very creative phase. And again, the evaluation of the ideas is critical. Accepting, quite neutral, designing the prototype, again, creative, and then testing the prototype, critical. So there is this creative and critical thinking skills are needed, but they are not at the same time. So this kind of process, how to do the inventions in the classroom. Now I come to the example. This was done in the 5th grade, the students aged about 10 to 11. So the aim was to make a model house, a smart home. So the home where is something automation inside the home. And this example was conducted in the context of project-based and the driving question was that how to build a house which behave according to sustainable development ideas. So the sustainability is easily connected to the, as in your example, you mentioned about this tobacco filters and how to connect sustainability features. So that was a sustainability development project, science project, innovation projects all together. And it is not clear in the beginning that what is smart in a smart house, but something we have something idea that there should be something smart, but it's not so clear what it is the outcome, because that is the something students have to do. They have to come to the final solution, and we don't know yet what is the final solution. And in this investigative part, we ask students to go and make a photograph from the school building, what they recognize as some level smart in the school building. Something that it is working in a smart way. So, and they make photos from the school building and thinking this question, what might be smart here? They can also interview the housekeeping people and how the air condition is organized, and that kind of questioning and making photos of the things. So investigation in the beginning. And abstraction. So it's quite complex, the school building is quite complex, so somehow you have to recognize in a simple way how things are working. So this creative critical thinking and this computational thinking, they are at the same time happening in this project. And then they come back to the classroom and they have a lot of pictures and aiming to find what are the smart characteristics in the smart house. So they continue the investigation and aiming to look the patterns, what kind of patterns they can see in the pictures they have made. And of course the role of the teacher is very important. He or she is helping students to classify the pictures. Okay, these are something connected to the temperature in the building. This is something that is connected to the doors and windows and maybe the watering systems and that kind of things. During the lunch break, what's happening smart in the building. So they are classifying the outcomes of the investigation and teacher is scaffolding the processes. So it's still the investigation, but they are somehow making also this decomposition. They are splitting the big problem, the smart house, to the smaller ones. and maybe they take only one piece of their own project, not the whole big smart house idea. And then the students are looking for information from the internet in order to better understand what makes this issue smart in the houses. And they continue the investigation and looking for patterns and simplifying issues. And then comes communication. It is very similar than in my yesterday talk about the project-based learning, when students are communicating. They are communicating the research question, they are communicating the plan what they are planning to investigate, they are communicating the outcomes of the research. And here they are communicating the outcome of this inquiry related to the smart house. So what is interesting for my group, what we are aiming to have in our smart house we are building up very soon. So sharing and communication is important. And then the students start to generate ideas. And we quite often use formal techniques for generating ideas. And one of our formal techniques is called 8x8 method. So the idea is that the challenge, the smart house is in the middle, and then you have papers around the challenge. And you write down kind of big approaches. What are the processes, what are the inputs, what are the outputs, movement maybe in the house, decoration, shape, heating, cooling, voices and light. So that kind of things that comes out from your investigation. So you are generating ideas and you are using this kind of tools which are helpful for you to generate ideas. Of course you can use those yellow labs. You can write simple ideas or innovations to the yellow labs. You can classify them and you can give a plus. You can evaluate them, and then you think that this is the first I will do, and so on. So there are many ways how we can support this idea generation process. And in the robotics and coding, we use the same. What is the robotics characteristics and what are the processes, input, outputs, voices, movement, and then the students continue to make the more concrete ideas. So this type of tools, 8x8, actually the name comes that there are first 8 papers and you write 8 approaches and then you write 8 single ideas. You get 64 ideas that you can implement to your innovation. And then the students are communicating again. They are communicating the ideas that they are implementing to the smart house based on the brainstorming process. Then comes the evaluation. They are a little bit testing, prototyping. They are coming to the final decision that will be our smart house. And then they combine working with hands and they construct a scale house and put the smart ideas to the scale house. Also this Arduino kits could be combined to the smart house. They are testing, debugging, and putting those smart components and automatic lights. When somebody is coming inside, the lights are put on, and when the person goes out, the lights are automatically stopped. And whatever they have invented, they can implement to the Arduino kits. Designing the prototype and testing the prototype. And of course, there are the algorithms they are following when they are constructing and making the robot code and debugging, testing the outcome. And finally, they are of course introducing what is the final outcome. So this takes some let me say, 5, 6, 7 hours to complete the whole process. It is not only one lesson issue, it takes a long time. For example, starting with this photographing the environment and classifying the environment and recognize that what might be the smart elements. And then the idea generation with those techniques, second lesson, and and then evaluation and prototyping. So it takes a longer time, not only one lesson. And everything is somehow embodied in the project-based learning. Yesterday I introduced the project-based learning, that there are these kind of characteristics. The aims come from the curriculum, and they are not making sense of the phenomena, but they are constructing something new. They are active in scientific and engineering practices. They are learning of core ideas. They are collaborating. They are constructing knowledge. They are creating artifacts and teaching scaffolding. In our research, it looks that it's working fine. The concrete outcomes are clear, and students enjoy, and they use creative and critical thinking and computational thinking. They are collaborating, and that kind of things are very clear. But what is the challenge is that they do not learn easily those science core ideas. So it's very challenging to combine learning of science to this kind of design process or innovation process. But they learn many other things. But honestly speaking, the learning of science is quite challenging inside this kind of process. Certainly they learn many things in the process. Do you have any comments or questions? Try to give an example how this innovation process, what it is and how it is taken to the classroom, and how the students are doing according to this process. Any comments or questions? I can take some other examples in the next part, but about this basic process. Is it clear? It looks, yeah. And the lights.
Perdón, yo quería preguntar si concretamente, porque no me quedó claro a partir de esta última presentación que me pareció muy interesante, ¿qué es lo que concretamente construyeron los alumnos como parte de la casa inteligente? Porque usted se refirió a una casa a escala. Entendí algo de las luces, puede ser que construyeron un dispositivo de luces que se encienden con sensores.
Yeah.
Este fue exactamente lo que se tomó, digamos, de todo el pensamiento acerca de las casas inteligentes. Ese es lo que se tomó efectivamente como cuestión a construir en forma efectiva.
Yeah. Yes, very good. They didn't build the whole house. It was kind of a prototype. So it could be have only this, I don't know, the kids and maybe some kind of basement and the lights and that kind of things. So it was not necessarily the whole building. Every group find their own solution, and they were focusing to the certain characteristics of the smart house and doing that. No, it is too complex to make everything to the one model. So it was not so, maybe not nice. It was prototype of the idea. So the process was the most important, not something that you can take home. But that was important to think about. And of course, you as a teacher or your students, when they go to the school, of course you can have more ambitious, and you are asking to build up the ready house. But maybe it takes the whole semester to do that. So it's a question of time, how much time you can use for the project. So something was coming out, not the full building, but something in the context of smart homes. And that's very important to raise that issue. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, I give another example. And this is more in science. No, I forgot. So, this is not another example yet, it is coming soon. This is something that was coming out from our research. So, my PhD student, who is now defending and working as a lecturer in teacher education, she was interested about student collaboration. While the students were making those smart house, how they collaborate. And she was especially interested about those low achieving students who have difficulties in learning. And we were using the network analysis. The network analysis is a general research methodology, and it could be used for analyzing the student collaboration. It could be used for many other purposes, but we use it for analyzing student collaboration. So what is this picture about? So these gray circles, they are students, and there are lines between students. So these two students are working together in data collection phase. But in asking question phase, there are much more students' collaboration happening. And this blue circle, it is the phase of the innovation process. And this red color is a teacher. How the teacher is supporting and scaffolding, and with whom he or she is working. So typically he is mostly working with those students with learning difficulties. So it is not clever to go to the detail because it looks very messy, but it is possible if you concentrate and look for the graphs. You can analyze with whom the students are working, where the teacher have to support the process, and what is the phase in the work. So the outcome of the analysis is like this. It is not numerous analysis, it's not table, but it is this kind of network and kind of combination of networks is coming out. So that was one research outcome. We know how they were collaborating, with whom they were collaborating in different phases, and what was the role of teacher in the scaffolding of the processes. There were also the kind of reflective discussions. In every lesson, end of the lesson, there were reflective discussions. And the teacher was especially discussing with those students with learning difficulties. And this is an example of the discussion with the teacher and student. Why did you have difficulties in today's session? Because everyone talked on one hour and you had to shout if you wanted to get your voice heard. Why did you talk over one another? There was a leader in our team who gave turns. What you wanted from the leader, giving those turns. But Emilia did it sometimes, okay. But then another student began to complain that you cannot cover here. So that kind of discussion was audio recorded from the every lesson afterwards in the reflective discussions. And these reflective discussions, they were really important for those, especially for those students who have learning difficulties. They learn to control their behavior in this kind of very open process. And the findings in this Smart House project, there are many findings, but these are some. So the main finding is that the teacher-guided reflective discussions are significant to all students in the beginning of the project. The students are hesitant of their competencies. So it is new for students, they need this kind of scaffolding. And reflective discussions can help teachers to recognize the peers that are going to need more support during the project, and this research clarified that reflective discussions can be seen as a model for students on how to act in a group and how to coordinate their work. So they were not learning science as much as we were willing, but they learned many other things. They learned how to work, how to learn, how to collaborate, how to engage in creative and how to engage in critical thinking processes. Now is coming another example. This was the same dissertation. And this project was another project, and this was more science-oriented process. But there was also this kind of design thinking. And the idea is that students are starting to use more and more mobile devices while they make investigations. And the other aim was that the mobile devices can personalize learning, because people have different kind of challenges in learning, and the mobile devices could be used for overcoming the challenges. So many things were put together: inquiry, design thinking, use of mobile devices, and personalization of the learning, or support to the specific students. There were altogether almost 50 pupils, 27 male, 22 female, 10 special needs pupils. In Finland, we are integrating those special needs students to the ordinary classrooms, and that's why there are 50 students, 3 teachers, and two ordinary teachers, and 1 special needs teacher, and 3 researchers. And the pupils developed a new smartphones with a data package, so there were different kind of tools in the smartphones. And the data collection was done through the experience sampling method. So we sent randomly students to the question that what they are doing, how they are using smartphone. Very simple questions in order to know what they are doing and how they are doing, and how they are using smartphones in learning. And here again, it was run in the context of project-based learning. And the other innovations, so project-based learning was also innovation in this case, but the other innovation was the mobile learning, to use smartphones in learning. So when mobile learning, it's important that learning is supported by mobile technology. And it's somehow boundless. You can learn in many places, independent of the time and place. They are the most characterizing for mobile learning. And it is possible to support learning through the use of mobile devices, and possible to support engagement through the mobile devices. So that was kind of background literature research that it is known that the mobile devices are supportive for learning if they are used in a clever way, and they are supportive for the engagement. And the third is, so I mean, these 3 issues were put together: project-based learning, mobile learning, and personalization. So what is essential in personalization of the learning? When we are aiming to personalize, we can personalize the content, process, and product. So it is not necessary that everybody is making exactly the same. That is very important in Finnish education. We are not having heavy testing, so that's why it's possible to personalize and not asking everybody to do exactly the same. And personalization is guided by general differentiation principles like respectful task and flexible grouping and continuous formative assessment. They are inside this kind of personalization. And when we are focusing on the process, of course we are interested about students' skill, interest, and challenge, and how challenges are the issues they are doing, and what are the skills related to the challenge. And then we take the mobile phones to this picture, and it means that the phones can be used in many ways in personalizing the process. If the students have difficulties to write, he can use the voice recorder. He can make the notes through using the voice recorder or making the photos. So it's not necessary that everybody is writing as much, because if you have real challenges in writing, then it prevents you science learning. But the mobile phone helps you to overcome the challenges in writing. And of course the product, it's not necessary that everybody is making the written outcome. You can make the picture book or PowerPoint presentation or a video clip. So you can personalize what's coming out, not exactly the same from everybody. And then you can use the mobile phones in every phases of the personalization process. And now we come to the design part. So we ask students first to generate ideas on how they can use mobile devices in science inquiry processes. And they use this same 8x8 method. So they put to the middle of the table what is the challenge, how I use smartphones in learning. And making notes, recording notes, looking notes, looking for information, using the wiki and YouTube and newspapers, sharing outcomes through Skype and Messenger and email. Messenger is not anymore used so much, emails and applications. And so they figure out, the students themselves, that how they can use the smartphone for overcoming the challenges. And then we were recording the working and sending those questionnaires that what you are doing and how you use mobile devices now. And this is the one simple outcome of the research that mostly in the beginning the students were looking information from the internet and help from the home. Okay, that's nice also. And here in the third lesson they were making notes mostly. And these red circles are interesting. Even the students were first generating the ideas, how they can personalize learning, how they can overcome the challenges in learning. Teachers were somehow recalling that, please remember the way how you can personalize your learning. And it looks that every time the teacher is somehow reminding those techniques, the frequencies are much higher. But anyway, we can now know how the students are using the mobile devices for personalizing the learning. So our next study, I will not go to the detail, but we have now submitted the paper, and it was about quite similar process than the smart house, but not exactly the smart house, but our aim was more focused on the science learning. So students were creating something, and we were technologically interesting, and we were aiming that they were learning something about the electric circuit, the batteries, and those electric current and ammeter and that kind of things. But based on the kind of pre-test, post-test, we were not able to recognize any learning. So that was a pity. But on the other hand, it was not focusing to the learning of voltage and current and electric circuit. We were thinking that it is kind of side effect that is coming out while students are making something that contains the electric circuit. But based on the pre-test post-test, it was not happening. On the other hand, while we were asking students to make portfolios, they were writing down every lesson that what they were doing, when they have successful. We were able to look from the portfolios that with which kind of concepts and ideas they were working. And it gives a little bit more promising outcome. So maybe in this kind of environment, this kind of very traditional pre-test, post-test is not working. But what we can see from the portfolios, that is quite interesting actually. So here is an example of the student portfolio. They are writing down what they are doing. They are also having those drawings and also some reflection where they have success and what they have to make next time better. And those portfolios were analyzed in a way that when they are mentioning there's something related to the physics and chemistry, it is the green color. And the blue color is something that they are mentioning belongs to the engineering field. And the yellow is more technologically oriented issue. So using the portfolios, it's another way to look what kind of concepts, what kind of issues they are working with. And then we use again this network analysis. So here the balls or the circles are the Yellow are technologically oriented issues, so they're using computers and softwares and things like that. The science are this red color, and scientific and engineering practices, they are generating ideas, they are making a prototype, they are measuring something, they are making observations. That is gray color. And working with the materials, different kind of materials, it's a blue color. And then we make this kind of network presentations for each group of students, and then we were able to compare that, what kind of affordances for learning there are. We are not claiming that they learn, but what kind of affordances there are for learning. And we can also see that which things are happening together. For example, here then, when they are working with science topics related to dynamics, movement, they are very much connecting automation, publishing issues, and designing, engineering design with the dynamics. And it is possible to later on analyze what kind of things are together and what are the most important issues they have done. It's not telling what they have learned, but it's telling what they have done. What are the processes in the learning? And our future steps, we are continuing this project, and now we are starting the project where we are looking for students learning with the labor robots, and we are especially interested about the creative thinking skills and critical thinking skills and computational thinking skills. How they learn those skills. So it's so broad area of research that it's not only the question that do we know perfectly the electric circuit. There are many other things also. But it's also important to know that this is not the way how to teach concepts. It is not very effective for learning electric circuit and voltage and electric current. But it is very effective for learning something else. Any questions about these two other examples? You would like to raise something? So I was telling truth that, as I mentioned, that maybe phenomenal learning is quite similar. Maybe it's not good for learning the electric current, but it's good for learning something else, and we have to know what they are learning. But there are affordances for learning. They are using the terms, but they do not learn it deep. They are not able to use the concept in problem solving. So something else should be done in addition. But anything to add or comment or? It's clear. Okay, please. You are very active. I'm happy.
Sí. Otra vez. Justamente, usted en un par de veces por lo menos mencionó esto de que no estaba tan claro si con esto aprenden realmente ciencia y sí que se aprenden muchas otras cosas. También me da la sensación de que cuanto más ambicioso es el proyecto, más contenidos, digamos, de cierto peso científico son necesarios. También por parte del docente, lógicamente, que es el que tiene que conducir la investigación. Mi pregunta concreta es, ¿cómo entonces ustedes en Finlandia plantean el aprendizaje de estos conceptos? En mi caso yo enseño matemática, por ejemplo. ¿Cómo ustedes piensan, tanto para la formación docente como para los alumnos de las escuelas, cómo encaran la enseñanza de los conceptos básicos que son evidentemente necesarios para que estos proyectos después tengan como un sentido más interesante, ¿no? Porque si uno tiene poco conocimiento atrás, se me ocurre que puede hacer poco. Me interesaría saber cómo encaran la formación docente con respecto a la ciencia en general, a la matemática, si fuera posible alguna palabra sobre eso, y cómo aprenden los alumnos también esos conceptos básicos.
Good. Thank you for raising this issue. So, in our pedagogical thinking, it's important to understand that there are many pedagogical approaches, and teacher should have in his toolkit different type of approaches. And maybe one approach is good for certain area, learning of concepts, in order to use the concept in problem solving. Another tool is good for learning collaboration and certain type of thinking skills. Another approach is good for something else. So there is no single pedagogical approach that is supportive for everything. Or at least you have to think very carefully what is your main aim in this process. But honestly, we were also aiming to teach and learn those electric circuit issues, but that was not happening. Maybe this research phase, when the students become familiar with the previous knowledge in the field of the project, maybe that should be more emphasized. Maybe there should be some formal teaching part also, in order to have potentials to apply the knowledge better in the designing phase. So we are not ready with this pedagogical approach. We lack knowledge how to do it in a proper way. But the most important basic concepts in math, in science, I'm sure that there are more effective approaches for teaching and learning them. But maybe they could be combined, and the use of knowledge is important. It is not just memorizing things, but you have learned the issue when you are able to apply it in a new situations. And this kind of design processes are wonderful environments for applying what you have learned in a new situation. So maybe that kind of thinking, and in this, I mentioned our further research related to Lego robotics, maybe we take more seriously this point of view into account. We are not yet decided in detail, but that kind of thinking we have. So yes, there is not only one single solution how to teach, how to learn. There are many ways, and it depends on the aim. If we are focusing to concepts, better maybe use classification in science and project-based learning in some level. But it's not possible to have project-based learning for every topic. No, not at all. Couple of topics. It is supportive for certain type of learning, certain type of skills, certain type of practices learning. So that's my answer. I do not trust that there is one single solution. There are many, and they should be combined. And we have to know their limitations, and we have to know where they are good, where they are supportive. Important question. Anything else? So now we have the possibility to have a break, or we can just go to the end. So
Yeah, both things.
because there is not so.
There is no. I think we could go to the end of the. So, yeah. Creo que no tiene necesidad de hacer un corte para después hacer el cierre. Que no hay necesidad de hacer un corte para luego cerrar. Yari está proponiendo que podemos ir cerrando. Él finalizó con la presentación. Si no hay preguntas en adelante para terminar, estaríamos dando un cierre ya a este segundo módulo. No es el cierre del seminario, porque estamos proponiendo todavía una actividad que Yari no nos va a poder acompañar, pero estamos proponiendo organizar una visita al centro
Remida del gobierno, del Ministerio de Educación del gobierno de la ciudad, tal vez algunos lo conozcan.
So
al centro Remida. Yes.
I have a couple of slides still.
You still
Couple of
have.
slides.
Está diciendo que todavía necesita. Yo había entendido que no, que ya estaba dando por terminado. Tiene un breve cierre.
Couple of 3 slides.
Okay, so just go ahead with these 3 slides,
I mean, I was meaning that are we having a break and brainstorm some examples, or just making the discussion and then closing?
Yeah, but they said that we better continue and close early. But we can bring coffee inside.
So my final thoughts. So it was possible that you are generating an idea how to have this kind of innovation process in your classroom, but you can make it later on. And I would like to emphasize this picture. I have shown it to you earlier, and I was using it in the project-based learning, but it was also existing in the learning through reading and writing. And it is very much here in the innovation process, innovative process existing. So digital tools are important, and I give an example of how students were using smartphones for personalizing learning, making notes, looking for information, sharing, and that kind of things. But in all those examples I have given, the project-based learning, reading and writing, and this innovation process, students have been in the center. Students' ideas and practices are in the center. They are active in learning. Second, the knowledge practices, scientific and engineering practices, asking questions, making the definition, recognizing the challenge or stating the problem you are solving, collecting data or generating ideas, they are the practices. Social interaction, they are collaborating in learning, and they are constructing something. In project-based learning, it was a scientific model or concept. In reading and writing, it is something they write or concept map. Or here in the innovation process, it's very concrete, a smart house or a model of the smart house. And then teacher scaffolding is needed in all cases. So this is including the kind of the main message of my lectures, that these four are important in the pedagogy we are aiming to have in Finnish classrooms. And then this process, innovation process or invention process, many names for the process. It starts from the recognizing of the challenge. Then you are making inquiry. You are looking some facts, some background information. And maybe that is something we have to focus more, because students did not learn these electric circuit issues. Generating of ideas for solving the original problem. Evaluation of the ideas, looking what is the best combination of the ideas. Accepting and making the prototype and testing the prototype. So creative and critical thinking. And the computational thinking, I give examples where you have those computational thinking situations. And this was our common brainstorming, what kind of skills are needed. You were very much emphasizing the socio-emotional skills, but also we need skills for generating ideas. We need techniques for generating ideas. I give only a couple of examples, this 8x8 method and those yellow labs, but there are many other methods we can use. And of course the scientific and technological knowledge is needed. We are not starting from the zero. We have that kind of background knowledge. And also the know-how, problem-solving skills are needed and inquiry skills are needed. So this OECD model is combining nicely those issues that are needed and what are learned in innovation project. Some advertising. So in our group we make a book very recently. It's not yet published, but it's coming out. The name is Invention Pedagogy, the Finnish approach to maker education. And there are a lot of examples, in addition to my examples, a lot of background information, and it is published by outlets and coming out very soon. So you can learn more. The editors are my earlier PhD students, and I have not so been active in editing that, but I was writing something to the book. So thank you for following, and now I have told, I think, everything I was planning to told and share with you, and I'm so happy that you have been contributing and giving your opinions and raising the issues and asking questions. So thank you for being so active.
Gracias a vos, Yari. Fue un lujo compartir esta semana estas 4 sesiones de presentaciones por parte tuya. Creo que fueron muy útiles y yo quería comentar, tal vez podemos escuchar un poco a la opinión de ustedes que han sentido, que si quieren puntualizar algo en particular de lo que ha sido este segundo módulo, en caso que quieran, si no, no hay ningún problema. Yo quería referir básicamente que, bueno, que estábamos evaluando la posibilidad de acordar con ustedes y con quienes estén con deseo de ir a visitar el Centro Remida, que estuvimos nosotros ayer con Yari. Realmente es una experiencia muy, muy interesante como para visitar y experimentar, justamente en función de la perspectiva y del eje de trabajo de todo este seminario, ¿no? Creemos que puede ser de mucha utilidad de ver en práctica cómo, con ciertas características muy particulares que presenta el Centro-Este, se está trabajando, y constituye una experiencia interesante de ver cómo se está trabajando en lo que podríamos llamar una perspectiva STEAM. En educación, aunque con mucha focalización en el preescolar, en el nivel inicial de la escolarización, pero con objetivos de avanzar hacia la educación básica y media. Así que eso lo vamos a acordar con ustedes a través de correos y del aula, a acordar algún momento cuando nosotros podamos definir con el centro el día en que nos pueden recibir, poder luego informarles a ustedes y buscar alternativas. No somos tantos, de manera de poder ir todos juntos y así aprovechar la oportunidad. Por otro lado, hay cuestiones prácticas respecto de la realización y las guidelines para la realización del ensayo, el cronograma. Los guidelines están en el aula, el cronograma no está definido, lo vamos a definir en la semana que viene, pero les anticipamos que va a ser algo distendido, o sea, nosotros nos vamos a tomar algún tiempo, estamos muy sobre fin de año, entonces vamos a tomar algún tiempo, no nos va a dar tiempo a nosotros de corregir los ensayos para poder cerrar todo en este año, porque nos va a agarrar 15 de diciembre y ya saben ustedes lo que es, locura y desborde total de actividades, o sea que lo más seguro es que el proceso de cierre y de entrega sí sea anterior, pero en la medida de las posibilidades de ustedes. En esto tenemos que ser flexibles, la idea es que se produzca más que no se produzca, ¿no? Y posiblemente la evaluación final y la certificación vaya a quedar hacia febrero, ¿sí? Esto se lo vamos a plantear con exactitud en el aula, pero se los anticipo para que no estén preocupados, digamos, de que vamos a tener que salir corriendo la semana que viene a ponerse a trabajar como locos. La otra cuestión es que estamos avanzando muy fuertemente con Yari en la posibilidad de una publicación conjunta que involucre una tercera parte, una primera parte en el texto vinculado al primer módulo, una segunda parte concentrada en lo que trabajó Yari, más aspectos metodológicos y generales sobre innovación y aprendizaje basado en proyectos, y una tercera parte donde nos interesa comunicar y traer a discusión los mejores ensayos que ustedes puedan producir, seleccionar 3, 4 mejores trabajos que reporten y que iluminen algunos casos locales, que no necesariamente tienen que tratarse de experiencias de quien escribe, pueden ser casos locales referenciados, ¿no? Pero sobre los cuales se conceptualice y se argumente
Entonces estaríamos generando una publicación en español con casos internacionales de Finlandia, de Buenos Aires, y Ari introdujo en el día de ayer, como siempre nos llegó un poquito más adelante a laburar un poquito más, que él quiere incluir una contribución de Estados Unidos y una contribución de Asia en la primera parte. Apuntamos a generar un texto que pueda ser de utilidad para el trabajo de quienes están en la formación inicial docente y de profesores, y también para los profesores, en un nivel de presentación y de discusión que tenga que ver con lo que fueron estas presentaciones, algo bastante pragmático, orientado, simple, focalizado, y que genere herramientas concretas de cómo pensar y cómo seguir adelante, más allá no se trata de elaborar un texto de gran reflexión teórica o de gran discusión teórica en términos filosóficos y pedagógicos, sino más bien un instrumento que sirva para la formación de los profesores, ¿no? Así que bueno, esto ojalá los motive, los incentive a volcar en el ensayo todo lo que ustedes saben y la experiencia que tienen. Y por otro lado, también vamos a comunicar en la semana que viene con Florencia, lo vamos a subir al aula, cuáles son las características que pedimos para aquellos que quieran acreditación del seminario, que necesiten la acreditación, que no hayan podido atender la primera semana. Está todo el material subido en el aula, y vamos a plantear cuáles son los ejes necesarios para hacer un resumen. Quien no pudo atender va a tener que hacer un resumen de la primera semana, y entonces queda habilitado para hacer el ensayo, ¿sí? De manera de que no pierdan la posibilidad y la chance de acreditación. Y la acreditación, para aquellos que no están todavía graduados, saben que los créditos se pueden, la acreditación para graduados es factible también, no hace falta un ensayo, hace falta solo un resumen de los dos módulos, se puede acreditar sin ningún problema, y esos lineamientos de cómo realizar esos resúmenes los vamos a estar subiendo en la semana que viene, ¿sí? Así que nada, ahora sí, ya, sí. Flor, necesitan traducir.
El micrófono.
No, Yari está muy fuera, si no.
Juan Carlos, el micrófono.
Sí, pero no llega hasta allá, tiene que venir. Si quedas fuera,
No, era simplemente de avisarles que les va a llegar un forms pidiéndoles que nos manden el quill, el título de grado, los que tengan título de grado, porque eso es una cuestión formal para después, cuando presenten el trabajo, puedan emitirle la universidad a cada uno de ustedes el certificado de acreditación del seminario. Pero se lo queríamos aclarar porque como les vamos a ir mandando mucha información, para que no crean que los estamos bombardeando, ¿sí?
Es una formalidad, pero muy importante. Para acreditar posgrado necesitamos, es un mecanismo formal que exige CONEAU, o sea, tenemos que verificar título de grado nomás, nada de certificación con firma, una fotocopia que diga es de fulano, está acreditado, ya está, ¿no? Pero lo necesitamos tener. Nada, entonces ahora sí, Yari, dando cierre al seminario, agradecerte profundamente por tu buena voluntad, por el tremendo esfuerzo que hiciste, por tu generosidad desde todo punto de vista de compartir con nosotros tu experiencia y tu conocimiento, y el gran esfuerzo que hiciste para venir a compartir con nosotros. Es de destacar, y deseo destacar, de que es una colaboración absolutamente libre de ningún tipo de recompensa económica. Entonces esto se da poco, estamos bastante poco acostumbrados a este tipo de colaboración genuina, solo por el interés del conocimiento y el interés de compartir el conocimiento. Por lo tanto, no puedo más que enfatizarlo muy fuertemente. ninguno de los colegas de Finlandia recibe ninguna retribución por el trabajo que vienen desarrollando con nosotros. Así que nada, muchísimas gracias, Yari.
Si les parece, we can make a picture.
Sí,
Everybody
could we make a picture?
Let's make a picture. It's a very